Hello everybody, today we're going to be going over your first preliminary winter forecast for the year of 2020. Now this is again my first winter forecast for this year, and I'm probably going to do two or three more of them as we get further and further on and we start to get closer to the winter months. Now this is a very exciting day. I love doing these forecasts and I can't wait to show my personal forecast with you guys. I made all these maps by myself, and we're going to go over my temperature anomaly forecast, my precipitation anomaly forecast, and then at the end of the video we're going to go over this map, which is currently on your screen, my overall forecast, and kind of assign a role to each of these colors and what they represent here. So we're going to go over that later on in the video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end. So here is your temperature anomaly forecast. Now something I want to note, this is going to be a forecast that's going from December 1st to the last day of February, which this year happens to be February 28th. So this does not include some forecasts you'll see will actually go all the way until March 22nd. That's because they're using the regular winter months, but I'm using meteorological winter because, of course, I do forecast the weather. So I usually like to use the meteorological winter. It's a little bit more simple in terms of the dates. Now, meteorological winter again starts on December 1st and goes to the last day of February. So all of this is just for this time period between December and February. So here's your temperature anomaly forecast here, and you see we have above average conditions expected for parts of the southwestern United States, the south central United States, and the deep south, especially the Gulf states and even a little bit of the southeast coast there, could be seeing some slightly above average temperatures. Now, this is your first shade of above average. We actually have another shade, your moderately above average conditions, and this is going to be for parts of California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of southern Texas there. Now, here is your below average condition region. This is your slightly below average region. Now, some of you guys, if you did see my fall forecast, which I uploaded before I'm uploading this winter forecast, you can go check that out. It's on my channel. I did have above average regions, above average temperatures for these areas that are currently now in below average, and I had actually below average conditions for the areas that are now in above average conditions. So it is kind of a flip flop, and that's what you usually see between the fall and winter months. You usually see pretty much the opposite of what you saw in the fall transition into what you see in the winter. So that's why I actually had a warmer than normal fall for many areas except for the southeast, and now it's kind of reversed where parts of the southeast are warmer, but now parts of the northern United States are in that colder than normal condition region. So this is your slightly below average conditions, not going to be too noticeable, but this could in turn mean a couple more scenarios where you're seeing snow. Maybe you're a degree or two colder than normal, and that actually allows you to see some snowfall. So this can be actually very, very important. Now, here's your moderately below average region, and this is where I'm more confident in seeing below average conditions. This is for parts of Montana, North and South Dakota, parts of Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That's where I'm expecting even more below average conditions, and I'm also more certain in that happening. So that wraps up for this temperature forecast. Here's your precipitation anomaly forecast here, and we see for the Pacific Northwest and also for parts of the northwestern Rockies, we are seeing above average precipitation, as well as for parts of the Great Lakes, the Mid Atlantic, Tennessee Valley, and the Northeast there, where I am expecting slightly above average conditions. Now, we are expecting a La Nina to go into effect. Basically, what that means is that we have cooler than normal temperatures over parts of the equatorial Pacific. Now, that in turn, usually that's a very, very important part of this forecast, will actually in turn mean above average precipitation for mainly the Ohio Valley, into parts of the interior Northeast, but also that means that you usually have cooler than normal conditions combined with that. So that is why kind of my forecast is the way it is, and also there are a couple other factors, and if you guys want me to, in the comments down below, you can tell me if you want me to do a kind of a winter discussion discussing why I made the forecast forecast the way I did, and I'll definitely upload that. I respond to all your comments, by the way. If you have any questions, I'll definitely respond to you. Usually within 24 hours or so of you posting that comment, I'll be able to respond to you. So if you have any questions about this forecast, I'll definitely respond to you down in the comments below. Now, here's your two regions of moderately above average precipitation, one for the northwest and also another one for parts of the Great Lakes there, where, again, that La Nina is really going to play a big factor into that. Now, here's your below average region, and this is moving for much of the southern tier of the United States and then kind of juts out into parts of the central plains. And again, that is mainly due to the La Nina and also some of these, I use some analogs, or basically years that are similar to what we've already seen this year, and a lot of those years actually have below average precipitation for the central United States. Now, here's your second region of below average, and this is for parts of California, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas here, where I'm expecting even drier than normal conditions than the rest of these areas. Now, here's your snowfall forecast here, and this is actually something that I love to do, especially with my winter forecast. Kind of is a little bit of a wild card, and it really tests my forecasting ability if I can really get this nailed down correctly. So this is my first attempt at it, and I'll do this probably in the rest of my winter forecast as well, and you'll be able to see how I refine this. Now, here's where I'm expecting slightly above average snowfall for all of these regions, all of the northern tier of the United States. Now, here's where I'm expecting moderately above average snowfall. Now, this is for parts of Oregon and Washington states. Now, over parts of the Pacific Northwest there, that's kind of a toss-up. Now, you really need a lot to go correct for parts of, say, Portland or Seattle to get some snowfall. Usually they only average about 3 and 6 inches per year, I believe. That's the last time I checked that. So they don't average too much snowfall, but this can definitely increase your chances because you're going to have, because of this La Nina, you're going to have a lot more precipitation as well. You'll have some colder than normal conditions. This could in turn lead to some snowier conditions, or at least more chances of seeing snowfall for the Ohio Valley and the interior Northeast, as well as parts of northern New England. You are looking at moderately above average snowfall, and that's mainly due to that La Nina, with especially the storm tracks that are going to be likely this year. Here is your slightly below average region in terms of your snowfall, and this is if you're even going to see snowfall for these regions. So a lot of these regions don't even see snowfall most of the time, but this can definitely decrease your chances of seeing snowfall. So even if you don't see snowfall, usually when I put you in a below average region for snowfall, that usually will decrease your chances of seeing snowfall, or it's less likely that year that you will see snowfall. But for many of these regions, they don't usually typically see snowfall. For some of the Rocky Mountains, you will probably see some lower snow totals, especially for those mountaintops. So that is something very, very interesting to note from this forecast. Now, here is your overall forecast, and I'm going to be going over this and kind of decoding what each little color means on this map. And this is probably my favorite map to make that I make for any of my forecasts all year. Now, here in the Pacific Northwest, I'm looking at wet and cool. That doesn't mean that it's always going to be raining or it's always going to be just rain. It's not going to be snow. It just means that for the most part, it's going to be rain just because that's typically what you see. But you could definitely see some snowfall, and it will be below average. So it's going to be on the cooler side of things for this winter, especially. So here for the Southwest, I'm expecting warmer than normal conditions, and this is for California, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Texas. Here's your average conditions region, and that is for a little area in between that orange, the blue, and the white there. That's for parts of Nevada and Utah, and a little bit of Arizona there. That's where I'm expecting pretty much average conditions for this winter. Nothing too notable to note out for that region. Now, here's where I'm expecting even more mountain snow, especially for the northern and central Rockies. That's where I think, even though it's going to be warmer than normal for especially the central and southern Rockies, that's where you could potentially bypass that warmer than normal conditions. In the mountains, usually it is below 32 degrees anyway, so just the more systems that you get through, basically in turn means the more snowfall that you get. So, especially for the central and northern Rockies, that's where I'm expecting more mountain snow. Probably for the southern Rockies, probably average to maybe even slightly below average mountain snow there. Here's where I'm expecting colder than normal conditions. Generally, just going to be cold, and this is going to be for much of the northern plains and parts of the upper Midwest there. Here's where I'm expecting it to be frigid. Basically, that's another way of me saying I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of Arctic invasions throughout this area, throughout the Dakotas, Iowa, parts of Minnesota, and also for a little bit of Wisconsin there. Now, here's this flip-flop region. This is kind of a toss-up, as well as it's going to be squashed in between those drier than normal conditions, those wetter than normal conditions. Parts of this region are also going to be cooler than normal. Other parts are going to be warmer than normal. So it's kind of all over the place, and it's kind of one of the hardest regions to decipher what's going to happen. Now, over parts of the south central United States and the southeastern United States, we're looking at drier than normal conditions. This is where it's generally you're going to have less systems move through, and I think it's just overall going to be drier than normal. Now, for parts of the Great Lakes, this is where I'm expecting more lake effect than what is typical, and that's just because I do think you're going to see more systems move through. You're going to have more precipitation generally throughout this region. In turn, it should lead to some more lake effect snowfall. Now, this is where I'm expecting it to be very snowy over parts of the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. This is probably the bullseye if you want some good systems. We call these Appalachian runners, where they kind of run up the spine of the Appalachian Mountains and they kind of bring snowfall to the areas to the west, and rainfall, or sometimes on the northern fringe of that, they could actually see snowfall as well. So these are typically what you're going to see this winter. We're expecting cooler than normal conditions for parts of the Carolinas, parts of Tennessee, northern Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi, and a little bit of Arkansas there, seeing cooler than normal conditions. Here's your snowy region, where generally you're going to see quite a bit of systems move through this area. If these systems track just east of the Appalachians, these areas, kind of moving from northern Maine down to West Virginia, could really get hammered with quite a bit of snowfall. And then finally, here's where I'm expecting big coastal storms to move through. We already saw some nor'easters to move through throughout this summer, so that's definitely not out of the question that we could see a couple nor'easters. Couple that with the below average conditions and the above average precipitation that's expected, and we could definitely see some big coastal storms ride throughout parts anywhere from Virginia, Washington D.C. to about eastern Maine there, where you could see some very big coastal storms. Not going to say it's always going to be snowfall, but definitely you could see some big snowfall events. And definitely if any of these any big storms do occur, I definitely will upload on my channel about them. I do upload pretty much daily, to sometimes I take a break if there's not too much to talk about, if it's a very quiet day, but for the most part, I like to upload every day. Maybe again I take a break every other day or something like that, but I do like uploading, and I do enjoy uploading and informing you guys on the weather. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.